Coming up on today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, Mike Malone gets set to pass Doug Moe. We're going to be previewing the Nuggets' NBA Cup run. We're also going to ask, what did the Warriors teach us? And the Nuggets are teaching us about a team's identity. Maybe we'll reference the ship of Thesis? This is DNVR Nuggets. So funny. Oh my gosh, are we live on the internet? And on television.
Oh, that's right. No cursing, guys.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. We are presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Three-man game going on really the rest of the week. And to help me with that three-man game,
say something about my vest, dude.
No, you're right. I was not going to do it.
No chance.
I was trying to think of like a lowly third person in a big three, but I wasn't going to do it. Steele & Co.
That's right, guys. I'm the lowly three-man, the three-man game, which I guess makes me... Who's the lowliest?
That's what I was trying to think of, and I couldn't get to it.
I don't want to say it because it's my guy.
I was like, the Jeremy Grant. The Michael Porter.
It's my guy. That's right. It's a good fit in Denver. It's a good fit.
Also helped me out. Man, we got a couple of... Actually, I am going to mention the vest. We have a couple of hunters here in the old lounge today.
You're over here being hunted, and we're hunting you, brother.
This is my fall in Colorado. Is it winter now, though? How do the seasons work?
This is fall.
Is it fall?
Yeah,
That's good to know.
It's
Yeah, it's my fall jacket.
Man... It was nice, a couple days off from the Nuggets, no practice or anything from them. They got much needed rest. But it was nice to get to practice today. We're going to talk about some of the practice notes and all the stuff I said at the top of the hour. But first note, I'm going to throw it to you, Vogt. First note, we get to practice today. Jokic, nowhere to be seen. Was he there? I don't know. But it does make sense, like anybody needs a little bit extra time off. I just think it was like not doing media today. But he wasn't there when they opened the doors.
Yeah, that could have just been a leave early because you've earned it kind of deal. Yeah. But I mean, look, honestly, even if he didn't practice, I would say that he's earned that too. People kicked around the idea of him sitting that OKC Thunder game. Sure, glad he didn't in hindsight. But yeah, I'm not going to overthink that. But I think maybe just a little bit of break for a guy who spends a lot of time in front of us. And that's all right. Even if he took a break from practice, I don't mind. I've got a feeling.
It would be hilarious, though, if it was like, he's like, yeah, what are we going over in practice? The plays? Like, whose plays? Ours or everyone else's? Yes. They're like, yeah, I think you could take this one off.
Yes. This one's for Christian.
Yeah, this one, we're good.
For sure. So, yeah, not worried about that, but...
I don't think, by the way, I'm not saying he took the day off. No.
Probably just wanted a break from seeing us.
I don't want to report. Adam says Jokic not attending practices. I'm just saying he wasn't at the media availability portion of it.
That would tiptoe around this one for sure.
That would be a personal game of mine, is trying to sneak out before we showed up every single time.
No kidding, man.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's also their game, all of their games.
Is.
But not everyone can leave.
It is.
So what happened at practice today, Vogt? You want to start us off?
Yeah, well, the other thing we saw at practice today was Aaron Gordon in practice uniform with a brace on that right calf. Of course, he's out right now with a right calf strain. Getting free throws up, getting some baby hooks up, eventually getting some threes up. Now, we did talk to Michael Malone about this, and he says Aaron is getting some work in, but obviously he's not participating in practice yet. He's doing well. He's making progress, but there's no real timeline. Here's the headline. Aaron Gordon will not play in this upcoming road trip. Not a huge surprise. That's not a setback or anything. But since he was out there getting work up and dressed, we asked about it. So there's a little update on Aaron. He's progressing well, but no timeline yet. He will not play in this upcoming road trip.
I know it's weird, man, but I honestly think that it's like good, not good that he's out, but I'm kind of appreciative that he's out for a little while because I do think this runway is good for the Nuggets, even though they're obviously better with him. I do feel like it almost forces the team to do some development early in the year that I think they need.
That's always easy to say when it's gone well, right? So thankfully it's gone well, and we can say, yes, this has been great for Peyton Watson. There's a world in which he stinks it up, and we're all going, man, get Aaron back as soon as possible. But you always hope for a silver lining timeline with injuries, in this case, the developmental minutes. And certainly that is how it's played out. And I think that helps Aaron as well, not feel rushed, not feel like, we got to get you back so we can stay above water. I think clearly they've picked up some wins. He can take his time in returning. But he was moving all right. There's a video out there on my Twitter on DNVR Nuggets as well. He's just shooting free throws, but feel free to check it out. Michael Malone is 1 win away from tying, 2 wins away from passing the great Doug Moe.
I actually think this is a huge deal, man.
It is a huge deal. It would make him the winningest head coach in Nuggets history. Malone had this to say when asked about it by Adam Mattis. He said, quote, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about it, but as you asked that question, Adam, I've had a chance to spend time with Doug Moe. I've had a chance to listen to stories about Doug Moe from my father. And I think he'll always, forget numbers, I think he'll always be the greatest coach in Nuggets history. Everything he's done for this franchise, his personality, his imprint, there's a reason that banner is up there. He did go on to talk about how it also reflects how long he's been in Denver and how he's appreciative of that. But he closed by saying, I'm just worried about beating New Orleans.
Yeah, which was, the kind of the theme here. But it's funny, coaches always want to be focused on the mission, focused on the goal. Nobody more than Joey Maz. That guy won't talk about literally anything other than that. But I feel like there's sometimes sports do take another, and we can maybe save this for after Malone passes him, at least to really go in depth. But I do feel like this is a really big moment, man. It's a really big moment. They have, the way I set up the question, because I'd been thinking about it since the season started, when you walk into Ball Arena and you look up, there's a championship banner that catches your eye immediately. But right to the other side of that, then there's the flags, the Canada and U.S. flag. And right to the other side of that is Doug Moe, which also, when you look up at the retired jerseys, Doug Moe stands out the most, in part because of where it's placed. But in a lot of ways, it does lord over the Nuggets because Doug Moe lords over the Nuggets. And I thought, so I understand the mission at hand. We got the Pelicans coming up. But no, this is actually bigger than that.
Yeah.
This is a huge deal. And Michael Malone, you're a huge Michael Malone. We all are Michael Malone guys, but you've really been banging this drum lately. This is a big moment. That number was retired because it kind of felt impossible to pass.
Yeah, I feel like this is the moment, like in 2 games from now, Michael Malone, when he takes the lead in wins for the Nuggets, it's going to be more than symbolic. Like he's going, it will largely be symbolic, but he will be the Nuggets the coach for the Denver Nuggets. Like he will overtake Doug Moe, not just in obviously getting the wins, the championship, all these things. He's going to assume the mantle of the Denver Nuggets coach.
Agreed.
And I have been saying this privately, but I really believe it. Like I think that it's time for us to, like when that happens, I think we should acknowledge that it has happened. And I think that we should start to refer to him differently. The same way that he shouldn't just be casually, we shouldn't call him Moach anymore. We should call him Coach Moe or Coach Malone. Like the same way you would Coach Pop. Coach, like it's Coach like getting your doctorate. Like he has
I like that.
You become
Dr. Malone.
He's Dr. Malone. But I mean, like really, truly, like I think that this is significant and it represents a passing of the torch, and it's like a very legitimizing moment for Michael Malone. And I really think, like, I personally, I'm going to start calling him Coach Moe from this point on.
Well, that's a great segue, because another part of his answer was about how it signifies how long he's been here. There was a follow-up about how unlikely and rare that is in the NBA. And he mentioned the other guys that he's in there with in terms of longest tenured coaches in the NBA. Pop's one, Eric Spoelstra.
Yep.
Guys we think of and talk about this way. Fun tidbit, though, he did say that the coaching business being so volatile, so easy to be fired, blamed for failures, is one of the reasons why his father didn't want him to become a coach.
Yeah.
Says he actually tried to talk me out of it a couple of times. But thankfully, I work for an ownership group that has continued to believe in me. Shouted out Tim Connolly for believing in him originally.
And Arturas
Karnisovas. And he says, he says this to himself during the national anthem every game: cherish and savor every moment in the NBA because I got the best job in the world.
I do love, though, because Malone has said this a lot, that his father told him not to be a coach. And I just like it. Like, it's like a Scorsese movie, The Longshoreman. It's like, son, I want something else for you.
Yeah.
Don't go into this life.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to, Pop.
Coaching.
I'm just
coaching.
it is coaching. It's like coaching in the NBA. But I mean, I also do fully understand it.
I know.
Like a World War I veteran trying to explain. No, you don't want to go to World War II. Actually, it's bad.
Like that, but it's just
but
literally
it's basketball.
coaching.
And then finally, he was asked about the NBA Cup. Is he excited about it? Is he extra excited about it? Malone said, quote, "Can you feel it?"
Bro, the funny thing is the NBA Cup, the stupidest thing on earth, so trite, so embarrassing. Kind of fun, dude.
It was awesome last night.
Great game.
It was awesome last night.
Super fun.
This is the thing is it's actually what's so infuriating about it is that the games are actually good and the guys do seem to actually care, but also it's the only legacy of it. The cup itself is just dumb. You're like, oh, it's one of the cup games. They're going to care tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah. It is weird.
It is so weird. Stupid. Yeah, but somehow it works.
There were great games, so it was kind of hilarious timing for Malone to make this point.
If there was no cup, but cup games, you made more money to do them, then the guys would just go. So they don't care about the cup,
or they were worth
money.
2 points in the standings, or something like that. Some kind of thing. Like,
yeah, it was good. We're going to talk about that though, because last night some bangers.
Well, Malone said, "Can you feel it? It's palpable. It's like emanating." And if you're not picking up on it, there was some heavy sarcasm there. And he said, "We'll have some really fancy courts, some colorful courts, with a bit of disdain in there." And then he says, "I'm not going to lie. I'm not any more excited for it than I am any other game."
I think this is the opinion of somebody that hasn't played in a game, and then when you do, you're like, why do I care?
Yeah,
you're like into it for some reason.
Well, Murray had a good line about it. We'll get to, I'm sure.
And we did hear from Jamal Murray as well today.
Good Murray today. Really good availability. Thought he had interesting stuff.
And he was asked, what is he most proud of so far with the team? He said, constant growth. We're seeing ourselves get better right now. And then he mentioned that everybody is in a great headspace. But on the flip side, what does the team need to improve on? Everything? But more specifically, free throws, transition, rebounding, turnovers.
Yeah.
Turnovers has definitely been something that's bit them a couple of times this year.
They come up in waves, though, if you've noticed. Like, the Nuggets will go a half without turnovers, and then all of a sudden a quarter, 9 turnovers. You're like, oh, well.
On all the time off, Jamal admitted it's great because we're not sure when the next time is we'll have this. This is a long stretch in the NBA season. So he said it's good for everyone to get our bodies right, get our minds right. And that's true of the players and the coaches, he says. But it's, you got to stay locked into everybody, get ready to get back to work. And obviously they're practicing now. But the time off physically is welcome. And he was asked about the great Coach Malone, Eric.
I'm telling you, man, that's for the, like, I see people in the chat kind of laughing about it. It's like, this is the thing. It's like, you
really,
well, they're like,
it's Hugo. That's his thing.
I just think, I don't know. To me, this is like meaningful. It's like for some people are going to need time away from it to then look back and be like, wow, I cannot believe that I took that for granted.
There's a lot of unmemorable coaches in Nuggets history. A lot.
All of them.
And
except
there's like four or
Doug
five
Moe.
that are, Doug Moe. I mean, there's not many. George
Karl, Doug Moe, and that's it.
Larry Brown, if you go back even further, but I mean,
he wasn't memorable for the Nuggets.
Because it was so long ago. It was really before it was really the ABA Nuggets. But nonetheless, you are right that there's not many, man. And when you end up with a Brian Shaw, you're like, oh, that's right. It's not a given thing that you have a good coach. And Michael Malone, I actually, we were talking about this, maybe a couple days ago, but I like it. I do like how you phrase it about it's almost like doctor. I always call every coach in my life coach. Anybody that's ever coached me, and even I know like media members laugh at other media members that call a coach a coach. And part of me goes, "You never played." To me, I called
Malone coach.
Yeah, but there are people that are like, "Come on, like blah blah," and I'm like, "No, man. A coach to me is like professor or or something like that." It's there. I have a respect for the job or whatever.
My thing is like every dude that cooks an omelet forces you to call them chef all the time, and like the way that chefs like walk around like, yes, chef, this stuff. You're like, bro, make my burger, but
not a respecter of chefs.
No, not the way that they talk about themselves, not even a little bit. But the point is that like this is earned. Like he's gotten like not everybody that. Like it's not Coach Brian Shaw. It's assistant
to the regional coach.
The regional coach Brian Shaw without the word coach in it. He's just like hang buddy Brian Shaw.
I'm going to be coaching my daughter's 8-year-old basketball.
If you become the winningest coach of that program's history,
let's go.
I will call you coach.
Let's go.
And we can hit.
Well, real quick, one thing you didn't say, Jamal Murray was asked about the cup as well, and he gave a more succinct answer. He does say he did care. Why? Money. And it's funny because $500,000 to a guy making $208 million, you wonder. But these guys, man, $500,000 for each player is a lot of money, and I think that why are guys playing so hard? I think they look at that, and there is this like, it's almost like gambling, just like, hey, let's put a little money on this one.
I think it's more than the money, though. I just think it's like if you go to a wedding and they spend $1 million on that wedding and there are peacocks being let go and fireworks, you're like, you dress up, you feel nervous. You're like, you don't want to let you, you want to do your part. Like people will reflect the effort you put into something. And then NBA, like replace the court. There's brand new, they have jerseys for this. I mean, they're making a big deal of it. So you actually like approach it in kind. And so, but I think that the money, like at the end, they're like, oh, that's cool. But I don't think that drives everybody, but I don't think it doesn't drive it. But I just think that there's something when you make something a thing, that people respond in kind.
The truth is they know across 82 games, they try to fight it. They know maybe this one doesn't matter. Sometimes all it takes is just telling them, hey, this one matters. Right. And guys play a little harder. But
hey, real quick, let's take a break. We'll get to the rest of the notes. On the other side, we're also going to talk about the Nuggets and Warriors, man. I just feel like they are spiritual teams in an unspiritual league. We're going to talk about that on the other side.
Speaking of spiritual experiences, I got a spiritual vehicle for you. Get behind the wheel of a Toyota. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. They built durable legends destined for greatness. You've seen them. You've heard about them. You know them. Toyota trucks are awesome. And whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you, like the all-new 2024 Tacoma and the return of the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser. They don't just sell trucks all the way down to SUVs, more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. There is a Toyota out there for you, no matter what kind of Coloradan you are. So do yourself a favor. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Also tell you guys, Bet365 is now an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche, and they're giving new customers in Colorado 2 months of Altitude Plus on them when you sign up. This is honestly the best deal you can get on Altitude Plus, because if you just follow Dev's bets, you will both win your bet. They actually will pay you for 2 months of Altitude Plus.
Oh, that's a great point.
Incredible.
It's a really good one. They also have the 365 early payout offer. Hasn't come in use for the Nuggets yet, thank God. Hopefully it never does.
It has.
Well, they won the game anyway.
Well, they won the game anyway, because the bet is if you go up by 20 points, it's like assume that you won. As long as you get up by 20, even if you blow a 20-point lead. That's why I say I hope it never comes in. But it is kind of a cool little thing, because it's almost like they pity you. If your team blew a 20-point lead, they're like, you know what? We're not going to do that to you. That's a real bad beat. Download the app. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. You get 100% parlay boost. Double your winnings on parlays with Bet365. 100% parlay boost. As official partner, the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. New customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 and 2 months of Altitude Plus. That's such a great deal. Sign up with that code. Remember our code, guys. DNVR365. Deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 to get $150 in bonus bets and the code for those 2 months at Altitude Plus. Once you have the code, head over to Altitude Plus to make an account and redeem your code to stream. Limited time offer. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older. Physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we are back. We have more. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, I have a clip to play real quick, Kale. Do you have it? If you guys don't know, I'm also now doing the All-NBA show with Tim Legler, who I'm not just saying this because he's my best friend. He is honestly the best analyst, basketball analyst.
He is.
A lot of people try to go deep on things, whatever, and they can really bore you. Some guys are just too fun. They're not good. He is so good at making interesting details really presentable and stuff. He's great. And he had this to say about Christian Braun.
I think Christian Braun has really evolved offensively for this team. Last year, I loved him. He's a competitor defensively, bigger, strong kid, really athletic, a slasher, attacker, tough, doesn't back down from people. But shooting was streaky. And now KCP leaves and he moves into that spot. And so it's going to take that level defense and shooting at that level or better. And I didn't know if he was going to get there this quickly. I thought he could because his stroke is good enough mechanically. Yeah. Like it should be able to get there, right? And he's got confidence. So you think, okay, those two things add up. Eventually he'll get there with more playing time. I didn't think he'd be this fast. He is now in this winning streak. He's shooting like 60% from the 3-point line. And he's in this 5.
Was that the clip? It just ends abruptly. There you go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, obviously he's impressed with Christian Braun. I will say Tim Legler does come from the Chris Marlowe school of
sensuality.
Sensuality. Today he referred to, I can't remember, was it Jared McCain said his trunk is really thick.
Yeah, that's a tough
It's
one.
a thick trunk.
He does have a thick. He does have a thick trunk.
He has a very thick trunk.
See, when I do it, we can all laugh together. When Legs do it, does it? You're like, keep a straight face.
No, I laughed.
Has Legs said girth yet?
No, he's girth all the time. A lot of guys.
Well,
with girth,
I will say it's different than pointing out a guy's trunk versus his calves.
Yeah.
All right, back to practice. Now, anyway,
to
check it out.
practice.
All NBA show 4 times a week.
Back to practice, where we heard more from Jamal Murray, a little bit more on the in-season tournaments courts. He did admit, yeah, that can be a bit too much of a distraction for me, but I don't care, he said. Then he admitted some are better than the others with the courts. When followed up and asked which ones are the worst, which color is the worst, he said red.
Yeah.
And he said the really bright ones.
Yeah.
And I have always wondered that. Looking at them is one thing, but I bet it's weird to play on when it's...
Dude, it's so distracting. This is so bothersome to me.
It's the
that
worst part.
Because you can't. It's like if you don't like the uniform, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't look at it the whole time. The court is oppressive. You cannot turn your attention away from the court. And there are times when it's like difficult to see the ball.
Yeah.
They look like they're floating on the court. It's like
they do.
I mean, like, listen, I'm again, like, I'm fine with it because it's like such a temporary thing and it like makes it seem special. But these designers, man, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, chill out.
I'm sure they worked well in test case, whatever, because it's like, do you know the story about Coke and Pepsi where they tested people on the flavor and everyone picked Pepsi because one drink of Pepsi is
it's
sugary,
yes.
but a whole can. That's how I feel like they tested people. Like, do you like the beer? They're like, yeah, I love it. Then you
It's
watch
like-
a whole game and you're like, oh.
Yeah, like when they do like the rotating, it's like all of the courts, bam, bam, bam. You're like, wow, that's cool, right? And then it covers up hardwood, which is beautiful. This is like you
that's
walk
so
into
true.
an old house and there's carpet over the hardwood, and you're like, what are these idiots doing?
Nobody
Like,
knows D-Line's affinity for hardwood, man. Like the people out there. It's actually great. I mean, designer, and you're right about it, but you have a lot. You stand hardwood.
because like you can describe the NBA as hardwood.
You're
And
so true on the hardwood.
it is that like core to what the NBA
So
is.
true.
It's not just a thing. Like it is the hardwood. Like it is. It's like taking bricks and dirt away from baseball. Like when you put a baseball in dome
Yeah, it's like,
with
what are we
artificial
doing?
turf, you're like, get the hell out of here,
so
Devil
true,
Rays.
man.
Just
It
beat
is
it,
so
dude.
true.
It's a great take.
It's
What are you doing, you assholes?
I do like, imagine trying to pick your head up to find Porter on the break and you just see the reddest thing you've ever seen in your life. Okay, we did hear more from Jamal Murray on, as we promised, Michael Malone, who he was informed is about to pass Doug Moe, and he was asked, what's your favorite thing about playing for Coach Malone? Murray said he's super organized.
That's a huge compliment, by the way, for players. That's
Yep.
one of the things they value the most, organization.
Which speaks to his work ethic. He comes into every game prepared, knowing personnel, sometimes more than the players. I think that consistency, I feel like
Always.
Yeah. I think that consistency shows where his head is at. And he says, plus, he's the only coach I've ever played for. It's good to have the same coach your entire career in the NBA, of course. You're both able to adapt to each other. And he said, that's not just me, too. There are other guys here that have had that relationship with him. Congratulations to him. It's a great accomplishment. You mentioned to Jamal that he actually is logging less time per possession. Is that the right way to frame it? And
Interesting answer.
And you asked him what goes into that, perhaps, or if it's something he's
Is
noticed.
it intentional or
Is
just
it intentional?
like happenstance?
Just the way it is. And he says, quote, Jokic bringing the ball up and going straight into a post up and getting a bucket.
I thought that was an interesting answer, though. Like, just more of that. And it is kind of true. I think I'm curious. We're only 10 games in, and some of those Murray missed. I am curious because we're like, the ball is popping more. It's a little bit less Jokic and Murray, a little bit. It could be as simple as that's Jokic's call.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as Jokic's like, no, I'm asserting more into this. Who knows? But I thought his quick answer on that was like, all right.
Yeah, he knew exactly what his answer was to that question. I love the way he said it. And getting a bucket. It is that simple, isn't it?
It's a good play call.
You asked him about the spacing, if it feels different to him. He says it's situational. Turning the corner or pick and roll depends who he's out there with. He says if it's Mike, they're not giving him any room, but it can be a little different with some other guys. And then on the tough start, he just kind of reiterated what he had said, I think, after 2 games, which is that's That's something that we're navigating almost more than they are, that they're not worried about it. We know how it goes. He says there are so many ups and downs. Even when you're playing well, you can't get too laxed or too happy. It's a long season. We're only 10 games in. So I'm sure you'll, pointing to us, the media, ride that wave again. Yeah. And look, as much the first time Murray said it when they were playing so poorly, no one wanted to hear it, but he was also right. Yep. You know, and that's the thing. He's like, look, we're not this bad. You guys know this. Like, we're gonna get better. But also, people don't necessarily want to hear that when it looks as bad as it did. Yeah. But
he keeps it even. He keeps it 100.
He was consistent about it too. Yeah, and he's kept it 100 now that they're playing well. So, and then finally his observations on Jokic. He says he's just being super aggressive. He's locked in, which is the aggressiveness is a part of what it looks like for Jokic to hit the next level, which we've wondered about. And then more specific observation, he says more threes and floaters, not taking as many middies.
Yeah, that's a 2-year trend.
Which is a 2-year trend. Yeah, and I wondered how much that was related to the wrist and the 3-point shot fall off altogether, but maybe not, because this year the 3-point shot is not a problem. So just something to keep in mind with Jokic.
Let's move on from practice notes now, because I want to get to some of this other stuff, and we'll probably go into the next segment as well. But last night was a great night in the association. Was it the NBA Cup? I don't know. But that Warriors-Mavs game was so compelling. And we were talking, you and I were talking beforehand about how Steph, so many of the greatest games and storylines involve Steph. There's something organic about how that Warriors team has gone about things. And you can contrast that with other players or story arcs throughout the year that feel maybe contrived. But last night was a real, genuine, cool moment. Because it was bittersweet. Klay Thompson leaving the Warriors, that is a weird split, man. It's a really weird one. It was emotional. It was bittersweet. I think both sides kind of don't like each other, which is weird because they reached the highest success we've ever seen for a team. And yet even they had a weird breakup. And when you watched that game last night, that was a game that it meant something, a regular season game, and both teams wanted to get the better of the other. And in particular, Steph and Klay wanted to get the better of each other. And I thought it was really great. But the Warriors, who are now 8-2 or 9-2, the Warriors pulled it out the exact way they always do, with great defense, staying connected, and then you get to clutch time, down 5 with 2 minutes, and guess what? That team knows exactly who and what they are and how they get shots in the clutch, and scored every single time. Yeah. And I watched it and I was thinking, the Warriors lost Klay, who we thought was a core member of that team, and it might prove to be actually still in the long run. But yet, you put Buddy Hield in, you put a bunch of other guys in, and guess what they look like? The Warriors. And the Nuggets are going through this too. They look like the Nuggets, but they've lost key pieces. And it just makes me think, man, what makes a core of a team? What makes the core of the Nuggets? When you watch you go, Draymond and Steph clearly are the core of that team, and all the other pieces, even Klay, can cycle through. And it just made me think of that. We used to talk about a core 4, core 5, core whatever. Is it just Jokic? Is it Jokic and, what is the core of the Nuggets?
Well, there's a couple different ways to look at this. There is, Steph has a little something I like to call the juice.
He does have the juice.
Steph's got the juice, and he can get a lot of people, the splash from his juice is really can get a lot of people wet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can interpret that however you want. You're correct.
Very true.
Shout out to our new Xfinity viewers.
But there is a there is a core to that team, that Warriors team, and that Klay was very much the core of that. But this is a new era. And the cores are always just fueled by one absolutely dominant player, and then another player that's close or can be arguably in the same conversation. But there's always the one guy. There's LeBron, there's Michael, there's Jokic, there's Steph. I think Steph is in the process of building a new core. It's a new team. It's a new identity. But there's just success follows. Winners win, dude. Did you know that?
Winners do win.
But yeah, it's interesting. It hasn't. This is a good example for the point you're trying to make with this Nuggets team, because as the personnel changed around Jokic, it wasn't necessarily okay. Well, this doesn't work anymore because they don't fit our old system. So we'll rebuild the system.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the same system, though. And it's the same with the Warriors. It's not a new system. It's the same system. It just looks different now that they have different personnel.
It's tailored differently.
It's tailored exactly right.
For example, more cuts right now, and I think less guys just standing still and spacing the floor, right? So I think it's yes, when you have a player as great as Jokic, especially one who has such a penchant for playmaking, Like it's almost amorphous. Yes, you could bring in new guys, and yes, you could reshape it, but I think that's part of why people like it so much is that they haven't. And Christian Braun had a great line on that today when talking about team building. He says going through the ups and downs and coming out on the other side together is what it's all about for him. Like you don't actually win. And Jokic has said things to that effect as well. Like it's not just getting everything you want all the time, right? That's fulfilling and rewarding. It's like this group, it worked this year. It didn't work this year. Why didn't it work that year? Can we figure it out? Can we come back and get better together? So
this is like what the dynamic of the NBA is that's so unique, I think, to it, in that it's a team game that is individually focused. And so Steph's greatness can permeate to the rest of the team. And through the team molding around what Steph is, what Jokic is, it can take him to a much greater height than they could on their own. But you have to have that piece. Like there has to be a keystone piece of every core that is meaningful. And like you, at the end of the day, like you'll look at, the history of the league, and Steph will be mentioned before the Splash Brothers. But then,
you're right.
Then you'll get down to like, and remember the Splash Brothers. It's like Michael Jordan is mentioned, and then you're like, oh, remember Michael and Scotty? But it's like the individual part is real.
Yeah. I want to keep pulling on this thread because I just find it so fascinating. And honestly, the Warriors and Nuggets really are.
Man, I really have destroyed this chat. Like,
chat
I put too many innuendos in the air, and they can't.
It's one of those shows.
I'll do it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
We'll take a break. You're just gonna have to suck it up. All right, let's go to break. On the other side, I want to keep pulling on this thread though about the Warriors and Nuggets and some other similarities to what they're both going through.
They say you're not really supposed to pull on the thread. Maybe cut it or burn it.
That's what they say.
Because it just keeps
it just unravels.
Get tighter. All right, it's a whole thing. I'll talk to you about it later. Because men, it's important to talk to each other, especially about your health. Data shows that men are more reluctant to seek
basketball.
No, that part we have down.
We got that part down.
We should check in with each other more. Data shows that men are more reluctant to seek healthcare, which causes worse outcomes. UC Health wants to change that. One way they're doing that is by starting a conversation with real men about men's health. Besides seeking healthcare, there are a lot of ways men can do a better job taking care of their overall health. Talking about it is a good first step. And UC Health is trying to make it easy as possible to get that done with online scheduling and other convenience features available in the UC Health app. So go ahead and download that and get it started right now. What are your priorities in life right now? Does health fit in at the top? Maybe it should. It's important to ask yourself these vulnerable questions and get real with yourself so you can be your healthiest self. Let's talk about your tomorrow. Join the men's health conversation at uchealth.org/men's health.
I also want to tell you guys about Game Time app. This is where you need to go to get your tickets for whatever you're going to. Festivals?
Yeah, you want to improve your health as a man. Go to a fun event.
Go to a fun event, man. Fun events are all over, man. You just got to go. And honestly, Game Time makes it easy to see what events are. You didn't even know what was going on. But you can also buy your game tickets there. And they also have this cool thing. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. What Game Time Picks does is it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can just be like, give me the deals. I just want the deals. I'm not looking for this or that. Game Time Picks, really easy to use, curated deals that make it easier to find the best prices on great seats. They also have something called the Super Deal.
Ooh.
The Super Deal.
Super Deal.
The Super Deal. Seat views before you buy, lowest price guarantee, even cancellation protection, job loss protection, whole bunch of other features. And then the number one feature is, of course, all-in pricing right on the front page. So you click that. You're not surprised when you check out. With all these hidden fees, you know exactly what your ticket's going to cost before when you select them. How did nobody else think of this?
I don't know. That's a sad and lonely day, though, when you've lost your job and you have to go back to Game Time and be like,
I can't get this.
I can't go to the concert.
That is a tough one. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR. It really helps us when you use our code. So does this speak into you? Sign up and use code DNVR. You get $20 off your first purchase.
Hell
Terms
yeah,
apply.
dude.
Again, create an account and use code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game Time!
Oh, it's Game Time.
Yeah, contractually
is it?
obligated to say that.
Sorry,
one, right?
that's my fault, guys.
Another thing that the Warriors and Nuggets have in their shared experience right now is that with new players coming in, the new players are more dependent on the guys that have been there before, namely Steph Curry and Nikola Jokic. And that's what I see last night. you don't get wasted possessions. Like Kuminga to the bench. Why? Because he kind of wastes some possessions. So you get to the bench. What we want are guys that understand our shots come off of Steph and Draymond, not alongside them, not instead of them. And right now, this will have to normalize because you have to build out a whole, layers of how you can score and different things. But when you are starting something new, it's important to go to the core of who and what you are. And I think both Jokic and Steph uniquely command that of their teammates because it's done so organically and unselfishly that it's like, why wouldn't I do that? I get my points from that. But I think that's part of why the Nuggets have been good and part of why the Warriors have been good is they're going to the core of what they're good at.
And I think this is a credit to both Steph and Jokic, particularly Jokic. That's why I love his approach to start the season so much because by essentially taking it as seriously as the playoffs, just in terms of how aggressive he's been and all that.
Right.
These have turned into the truest learning minutes for the young guys, right?
Yeah.
Sink or swim minutes with the best swim teacher that's ever lived. And so I think it's one thing if they just kind of floated through 82, but here's what it looks like when we're trying to win and he's our best option of winning. And how do you fit in around that? And how can you learn to fit in around that? And I just feel like if he had taken a different approach, maybe these Strother and Peyton minutes wouldn't have the same effect. But because they're kind of like, all right, man, this is what it's going to look like in the playoffs. It's a great early lesson for those guys. And I think Steph deserves the same credit as well because they've got a rotation that's running like 11 guys deep and they're figuring it out. And I think it's because the way that both of these two star players have approached the season.
Yeah. And then you start thinking about reinventing yourself. Like there's not a lot of teams that have that can do this, honestly. I think the Warriors and Nuggets are a little bit unique in their ability to be like, yeah, just plug in and play our system and you'll figure out how it works. And I was even thinking like the Spurs reinvented themselves in like the early 2010s because they played the slowest, most clunkiest style, and then they had the same guys and they started playing this fast-paced three-point style.
Yep.
That's a rare example. But then it got me to thinking about this. Part of why Klay split from the Warriors was the new CBA. Not all of it, but part of it.
Yep.
We already have Dante DiVincenzo jawing at the New York Knicks. That was also a CBA forced trade and some bad blood. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, yes, they hug it out. They say all nice things, but we saw the game, man. They were wanting to go over doing the shimmy in Steph's face. Like there was some tension there. It's
Steph hit a night-night
hit a night-night, right? And I mean, it was a game where you were like, I promise you Klay Thompson did not sleep well last night. He was furious to not get that one.
That was not all love.
But I look at it and I go, man, this is the new CBA. Like there's a lot of guys that change teams or whatever. It doesn't feel. Last night felt like, man, this is weird. I know we all love player transaction, but it actually felt. I wonder if this is the new CBA where we just think these guys will be together forever, but more and more there's going to be these ugly splits.
Man, this is like the thing that I go back and forth with what I want the NBA to look like. Yeah. Like you don't want there to be like long-standing dynasties unless it's the Denver Nuggets, but you don't want there to be like a whole decade of the Warriors or whatever. It gets boring really quickly. But then you want to reward teams who build something the right way and then they're able to prosper for a long time. But it is a lot of fun when you just part of me wants to give only 1 year contracts and every year is like fantasy football and or a fantasy team and you do a draft at the beginning of every season. That would be incredible, right? Because you're not just we're screwed forever because we made a terrible draft pick.
Just like an expansion draft every year where you can protect one or two guys.
No, you don't get to protect anybody.
You just I actually, you know what, you're talking me into it. It is weird, but it would be fun if every year you got to build a new Jokic
brand new team. Like it's your fantasy team. You're like, oh God, last year I had Joe Burrow and he was out all year, but this year I have Lamar Jackson. It's amazing.
These decisions, though, there's almost this implied framing now of, to your point earlier about what a core is. Yeah, we know the four of you are good enough, but if we only could pick two of you.
Yeah, what about the two?
And I'm like, all right, we'll do the obvious thing. All right, we have this podcast. We know the 4 or 5 of us have this figured out. How many of this are, if you count Kale's at 6? What if someone was like, but it's only 3 of you?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd be pretty pissed to be right on the bubble. You'd be pretty pissed.
DNVR Nuggets.
As someone who is not included in that group most of the time, let me tell you. From you guys. But from when people come to the bar, people will be like, oh, I love the Nuggets guys. I love D-line.
Give Kale his shine, man. A+ producer. Give him his shine when you come to the bar.
But then we decide because of the new CBA, we could do this shit without Kale. Like the next
That's
time
what I mean. That's wild.
the next time you wouldn't come back to the bar and be like, awesome to see you guys. Like, so I get it, man. That said, it made for some good theater. Did you see the Kevon Looney quote?
No.
He said it sounded like Oracle in there.
Oh man, that's layers to that one too.
Yeah.
He meant it sounded poor.
Executives in San Francisco, like, yes, that's what I said.
Yeah. Sounds a lot more
the
working
juice,
class
man.
in here.
The
The juice to that game. That had playoff
That thing
juice.
brought the juice. That thing brought the juice.
That game was awesome, man. That game really was awesome. But it does make you think about your Nuggets and the core of this. And you know, if you were to ask me, I was thinking about this so hard. I mean, the core is Jokic, and I actually think Murray is clearly number 2. I mean, he's in a lull right now, you know, at a low point. But as we talked about yesterday on the show, even Murray in a lull still brings something to the Nuggets that's so dynamically different, and namely his chemistry with Jokic that he doesn't always wield the perfect balance. But it is something that, to me, like, that is the core. And if you replaced him, could you maybe? I don't ever want to answer that question, but maybe. And then it got me thinking, and maybe just because I'm feeling sentimental about the moment, I think Malone's the core too. Because I think this team does have a Malone-ness.
Coach Malone.
Coach Malone.
Coach Mo.
My apologies. Well, not yet.
Yes, chef.
Not yet. He's got one more win to get to. But it does make me think that Malone has his DNA.
It's harder than you think. Yeah?
It is harder.
Now that we're ruined.
Wait, are you talking about the juice? He's got his DNA in the juice?
Malone's fingerprints are all over the Nuggets. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yo, here's the thing: is that, like, okay, so Jokic is the reason for the season. None of this happens without Nikola Jokic, but
true.
We have seen it's not a guarantee. He cannot do it alone. He can get very close, but you can't put Facu next to him and Austin Rivers, and like you have to have competent players next to him. Yeah. The chat and the internet will bemoan the fact that we don't have good enough players next to him, but the point being, like, with Jokic, he can lift good players to great players.
Yeah.
He is the foundation. Like, he is how you start a core. He is the foundation of a core, but then you still have to get the right pieces around him.
Yes, without a doubt.
Someone could just make a super edit of all the inappropriate things from this very episode.
Yeah,
like
dude.
today on the show.
Yes, like Jokic can just get a bunch of guys, put his DNA all over them, and then they become bonded.
It's like blessed.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quickly. We're going to spend the rest of the show now previewing the NBA Cup. We are off tomorrow, but you know who's not off? The homie Miroslav, who will be doing Serbian Corner. So you get your Nugget shows every day this week, including the weekend, which is awesome. So homie Miroslav, he's got Dave DeFore on, by the way. Really cool.
it's
He's
gonna
one
be a
of
great
my
show.
guys. So it'll be a great Nugget show on this show's day off. But the Nuggets, you know, we got the NBA Cup. Pelicans, Grizzlies on the road coming up this very weekend and into next week, which is weird, by the way. They play the Pelicans, tournament game. Then they play the Grizzlies, not a tournament game. Then they play the Grizzlies again, tournament game. Yeah.
I hope that they're like, we need this, and then they're like, "Oh, wait, we don't care about tonight." We need this.
Guarantee half the players go into that first game and are like, it's a tournament. They're like, where's the court? You're like, no, it's actually not.
Yeah,
What?
like, they have no idea.
Yeah, I have no. I thought it was the
so
game. No,
true.
that's the next. Who do we play? The same team, but
Did you see the one with Luca? He's on NBA TV, and they're like, "You play the Warriors next," and Luca goes, "No idea."
And then you come home and you play the Mavs next Friday. Absolute banger. Cannot wait for that rematch. That's a tournament game. And then you have the Warriors. So Pelicans, Grizzlies, Mavs, Warriors. I look at this and I go, you know what? I'm going to pretend to care for a second. Good. When it happened in the offseason, we're like, oh my God, murderer's row. I look at it now, I go, Pelicans kind of suck. Grizzlies are completely banged up. Mavs, Warriors at home. Good games. But Denver, to me, great opportunity to go and win their pool.
Absolutely. This is the perspective changes a million. It is funny, like how the teams, when you start every season, you're like, oh my God, L, and then you start, and you're like, that team sucks. And we're like, the way I feel about the Nuggets now, like I look at every team as less than.
Yeah.
Every team,
every single one.
Every team, every game is a winnable game in my eyes right now. Like I just am supremely confident with what the Nuggets have turned into. We obviously have not seen them take the show on the road, but like I just love what's happening in Nuggetsville right now. So I don't feel like, you say murderer's row, whatever. But like when the Nuggets are at the height of their power, you're like, yeah, we beat the Warriors. Of course we'll beat the Warriors. Yeah, of course we're going to beat the
That
Mavericks.
game, the cool part is the Warriors are the last one. It's not till December something. I look at that one and I go, I hope they're both undefeated going into that game. It would be so great to get a Nuggets Warriors.
And we're going to get the ultimate clash and demonstration of what I like to call the real math problem in the NBA, which is we have a 3-point dependent team versus a team with an inevitable scorer. And if you score every... Kevon Looney is not going to contain Nikola Jokic.
No.
Nikola Jokic can and will score every time down. So if we score every time down with 2 points and they make a 3-point shot every third time, the math actually works in our favor.
Carry the 4.
That's 6 points to 3 points. That's the real math.
All right,
problem.
you got it to me. Well, to their credit, number 1 and number 2 in cuts per game. Those two teams I actually think those two teams are the antidote to, because the Warriors were known as the 3-point shooting team, but the truth is they cut you up, man.
It's true.
The Nuggets
it's
do
fair.
too.
That's true. They do play more.
But this, we start with the Pelicans. Actually, we should take a break. We'll continue this because we're going to preview Pelicans and we're going to continue talking about this tournament. And just if you're feeling the juice of the tournament now that you want it, do we want the cup?
I'm juiced up.
Do we want the cup?
I want the cup. I want the cup full of juice.
All right. Okay. I'm not going to... This show's not going on my reel when I cut that up. A lot has changed.
Are any of them?
No. I don't have a reel. This is the only job I want. I don't answer my emails anymore. I'm where I need to be. A lot's changed over the years. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite. It was the original light beer, and to this day, by golly, it's still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want, less of the stuff you don't. And when we say stuff, we mean calories. Beer's delicious. Beer feels good. Beer tastes good. Mm-hmm. It looks good in your hand.
Oh, boy,
but man, do the calories add up? That's why eventually you make a switch to light beers, and when you do, you go right for the original. Of course, I'm talking Miller Lite. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/DNVR, or you can find it anywhere that sells beer. You guys know about Miller Lite. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces.
It's getting more and more difficult to save money right now. That's why you need to make smart money moves like joining Premier Members Credit Union. Unlike big banks, PMCU is truly invested in its members and communities. They're a financial institution based right here in Colorado.
I love
Local
that.
company. I know I love that. This is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. Whatever your goals, they can help. So that means local branches. Part of growing up, starting a checking, savings, and investment accounts. Mm-hmm. They can get you started with that with local people that are there. You're not just on the phone. Nope, they're going to go and work with you on all of your goals. Friendly tellers and the tools you need to save smarter, like the reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. So check out Premier Members Credit Union Reserve Tier Money Market. It's a game changer for your finances and your life. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com. That's becomepremier.com, or just click on the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, we're talking now about this. So the in-season tournament, those are the 4 teams. Grizzlies without Ja for a little bit. Pelicans shorthanded a lot of guys and also just not very good. I'll tell you this. I'm excited for tomorrow's game for one reason primarily. Yves Missi, good young prospect. 10 games into his NBA career, and he weighs about 180 pounds.
Yeah.
That's their center.
Yeah.
I am so excited to see Yo go. And I like Missi. I actually really like him. Seems like a good kid. Cameroonian kid.
Sure.
I can't wait to see what Yoke does with an undersized guy who, by the way, jumps at everything.
That's rookie DeAndre Ayton on the menu, boys.
Oh, man. Tomorrow might be.
Oh, my God.
Could he score 100 points tomorrow if he wanted?
It might be the Wilt game.
If he wanted, it's the problem.
Yeah, if he wanted. But I look at that one and I go, look, you could the turn. It's fun to look at all 4 of those games at one, but here it is. They go on the road. I actually think we always do this. There's chapters. I think we're in chapter 3. We start chapter 3. Chapter 1, settling in.
Okay.
It was a little rough. Figuring out who you are.
It's a one-page chapter.
Chapter 2 was the homestand, 5 games. Really, I would say they discovered their identity in that one, right?
This is definitely a chapter book for like a 10-year-old.
Well, I think this next chapter is a little longer. The first chapter is good. Okay. I think we now have 9 games in this next chapter, and I'm going to call it the NBA Cup.
Oh, wow. How'd you come up with that?
Excuse me. Emirates NBA Cup.
Please.
I'm going to call it the Emirates NBA Cup because you play your cup games there. 9 games. 3 at home, 6 on the road. And I think that part is going to be a big storyline. The Nuggets, they do have some road wins, but this will really test them. Like, can you win consistently on the road? And can you win when the stakes get elevated, if they do get elevated in this NBA Cup?
Yeah. Real quick. We mean Friday, not tomorrow. And
I do mean that, yeah.
And then I already forgot the rest of your question, so that's good.
I love that was the part you were like, I got what I'm going to say.
Locked in.
I'm going to correct that it's not Thursday, it's Friday.
No, I remember what I was going to say.
Let's go.
I think to do this on the road, to like make sure you're taking care of business, the defense needs to be better than it's been.
Yeah.
They have escaped some road performances defensively against bad teams thus far. And sometimes it's taken some free throw luck down the stretch and a lot of luck in a lot of areas. Eventually, you're going to get got on the road if you just try to outscore everyone. It's easy to do. It happens. But I think if you can be really picky, Chapter 3 includes locking back down on defense. For a week, we thought, might this be a worse group offensively, a better group defensively? So far, they're a juggernaut on one end and they're real bad on the other.
Defense has fallen off.
Defense has been bad. So I'm kind of looking at that on this road as a sign that they took it really seriously, and not just, well, we can score easily right now. Here we go.
Totally. And if I can play the role of your editor, I would condense this down to simply 2 chapters.
Really?
Okay.
I would say the beginning, brought in, like the first chapter was 2 games. It was Jamal.
Well, they went on the road. If you also, for me, I count Brooklyn, Toronto, and Minnesota because those were all games where
they didn't know each other. Jamal
and they
gets
eked
hurt.
it out. It wasn't like they won for something that came later. It
But
was
I just
like
think I feel like it's just the learning of oneself is chapter 1, and now we have a natural break. We actually have a week to sit, and they do as well to sort of like it's like the All-Star break. There's a very clear delineation before and after. Yeah. The Nuggets have found an identity, a very clear identity, in chapter 1 or chapter 2. If you're
can it at least be
wasteful.
sub chapters?
No, it can't. It's chapter 1. We are having a break. We're about to go into chapter 2. We have our new identity, and now we're putting our new identity to the test. Is it real? Are we for real? Like, is this thing that we've found at home with the new guys, is Project Dynasty a real thing? And the cup is a nice way to have it correspond. Things are just kind of lining up for the Nuggets in a way that feels like it's out of our hands and being guided by something greater, the same way it felt in the magical season that just where they, we're very early in the season, like we're certainly not counting chickens here, but it just feels like things are kind of falling in place for them. Their foes are crumbling. The things that we thought were absolutely fact are being a little bit like falling apart. I agree with you though. This is, as you look back, you're like, oh man, this is like that was a very that was a fork in the road in the season. I think you're right. Like we're getting into like, okay, we know what to. It's not just all questions now.
Right. Really quick, by the way, additional context for anyone who doesn't know about the Pelicans. Everyone is out. I'd mention that. I mean, everyone. Jose Alvarado out. Zion Williamson out. Jordan Hawkins out. Herb Jones out. CJ McCollum out. DeJounte Murray out. They didn't even have a center to begin with, really, outside of the kid I had to mention. So
Tyson Messi now.
Bro, they're the ones that I don't want to harp on this, but this is revenge season. They knocked us out of the cup last year, the Pelicans.
I don't even remember this.
That is true.
I remember because I was like mad, and then I was mad at myself for being mad.
Nuggets won 57 games last year. They were fighting for their lives in those cup games, man. The Rockets and the Pelicans.
Bro, they were very real games.
Yeah. Yeah, and so maybe this one will take on that texture. If we talk about what I think is chapter 3, but D-Line thinks chapter 2, whatever it is. If we talk about what you want to see accomplished, winning on the road is one thing. I do think, I got called a hater yesterday for pointing out the Nuggets have only played 3 road games this year. They're going to play a lot in this upcoming, so it levels out. Win consistently on the road and grab good wins. Right now you have Brooklyn and Toronto. Those are okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Nope. You got to win. They lost the one to Minnesota where you would really be like, that's a good statement win. So get a signature win here. You have some good teams that you're going to play on the road. Get a signature win. And then I would say I have 4 of these, but I'll throw this next one to you guys. The non-Jokic minutes. After these 9 games, are we in the same spot where it's like, hold on, white knuckle it because we're going to lose 15 points over this 4-minute stretch? You hope that they figure something out with that bench because the sky's the limit if that happens.
I personally don't think we're going to be on full steady ground until Aaron Gordon comes back.
Yeah, probably.
There's just like a lot. I just think that the foundation of this season is really going to be built on the idea that there's not. There is a starting unit, and then everything else is just there's not a bench unit.
But the stagger, you're right about the stagger part of this, but I'm literally talking about the 8 minutes Yoke didn't play. And this comes down to Yoke minutes. I could have phrased it that way. Yeah. Yoke needs to get 15 minutes of rest each game. So can you survive? Right now they can't survive it. They need to get to a point where they can survive that over this next 9 games.
Right. And I think that when Jokic leaves the court and then we have our back, like the backup 5 is just such a vacuous hole at this point. Like we're not getting offense from it. we're not getting much defense from it. I just think that AG in a lot of cases, potentially Vlatko Cancar, I just need to see something that fills that. And I think that between Julian, between P. Watt, between Russell Westbrook, and then Mike staggering, Jamal staggering, Aaron Gordon staggering with those guys, I feel like that can work. On paper, it seems like it should, right?
But that's not going to be the question over these next games. I agree with you, but I just don't. I think right now, and let me ask you this, Vogt. Zeke hasn't been good, but Malone has been going to him. Sorry, Coach has been going to him.
Coach Malone.
Coach Malone. So I like it because they're winning, and he does have a tight leash with him. Would you go away? If Vlatko's ready, would you give him a shot now, or would you wait? Would you say, you know what, even though he's not playing well, you got to give a guy confidence.
Yeah, I would wait. I would stick with something right now.
Stick with Zeke. Short leash and just give him a few more.
And certainly not because the bench is thriving, but
it's not.
You have your formula back right now if starters are good enough that you're winning these games.
I agree with you.
I think build towards something instead of just kind of musical chairs. And that's what I appreciated about the quick hook on the Sharge thing of just we got to try something. We got to try something. But when it comes to Zeke or Vlatko, the one thing they never have really had is a medium stretch of runway to get themselves off the ground. It's always a short runway.
Vlatko has, and he's got himself soaring and then crashes down.
Well, that's right. Then they blow a tire or something, right? So it's I think stick with Zeke for a little bit. But I do understand D-Line's point of until Aaron Gordon comes back, you're probably not finding good answers here because Malone is gone the other way. He's playing an 8-man rotation right now. Right, so you're probably not finding your 9-10 man answer until Aaron's back.
But it also would just be great, they're a -6, in 15 minutes, and you're just all right, well, they did some stuff because they did this or that or something. The bar is so low that I'm not they won the game for them.
Sure,
just some minutes where you go, okay, that's what they do. Until Aaron Gordon gets back, that's what that lineup does, and you feel good about it. I will say another piece of this though is Peyton Watson's defense. I think it's maybe the best storyline or most important storyline right now is that these last few games, Peyton Watson has not just looked good, he's looked like a stud.
Yeah.
He's looked incredible. And now I'm curious to see what happens over these next handful of games. Peyton Watson's defense, is he the number one defender on the team? AG, I don't know if he's going to be back, for a little while based on what we heard today. He gets a longer runway. I would love these next handful of games to be known as the Peyton breakout stretch.
I thought they were the Cup game.
Well, maybe we rename it.
Another chapter?
It's Wattsmiths or something.
A chapter inside a chapter?
A sub-chapter. But Peyton Watson, honestly. And then Julian Strawther, if you want to go that direction. I think, so I have win on the road, non-Jokic minutes, and then I put Peyton, Julian, and Murray. Mm-hmm. Those are the three guys that, I'm especially keyed in on because any one of those guys taking a step up or Peyton continuing to would be a big deal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw some of it with the kids. I think more of the same would be great. A stretch of consistency for Peyton would be great.
Do you think Julian has played great?
I wouldn't say he's played great, but I think he has had moments. He did get to close a couple of those games, and I thought that unit worked together. Malone, they called his defense out, rightfully so, and then he had the 1 steal, 2 block game recently, and so there's some growth there. I think Julian's kind of in a tough spot right now of hey, we just need you to lift the bench offensively too. And then he scored, he had a good night the other night offensively, 12 points, hit his threes, and he was still a minus.
But what if that was the solve? Right now I feel like Christian has had a breakout year. I think Peyton Watson is breaking out over these last few games. Julian Strawther to me has been fine. He's been fine.
Yep.
But if this is a breakout chapter for him, that might be what the bench needs is, okay, now Julian provides those 9 points when he's with the bench.
I agree. And I think he's played well, but I think that Christian and Peyton have made such monumental leaps that they've outshined.
When they're playing with Jokic, especially
playing with Jokic, But I'm with you. I do think that Julian holds a lot of the potential to fix that bench. Just if he can actually become a reliable scorer, reliable shooter, that's exactly obviously how Russ wants to play. But with this bench, it's really just defense more than their defense.
Their defense has been fine. Their offense has been
it's both.
Atrocious.
I guess it's just everything. They just get carved up kind of everywhere. But you're right. The offense has been really bad.
They don't score in half court. They literally don't score in the half court.
It is bad.
But maybe they start. And then Jamal Murray, part of this too. Again, he's been fine statistically. Number 1 net rating. He actually is lifting some things, but we haven't felt it just yet, the two-man game. And I would love it if this stretch is also known as that. It's like, okay, Murray joined the show, because I think that's the difference between the Nuggets eking out wins and the Nuggets kind of winning comfortably more often than not. And any one of those things, but Jamal Murray, this could be his stretch.
Yeah, they have had this more kind of all-around balanced approach recently offensively. That's nice, but also if you look at it within that, there are still nights where Murray's taking 17 shots. He just hasn't been awesome
Hasn't
yet.
been making them
and he was really good in the second half against Dallas. And some of those buckets to me were some of those old-fashioned, it's Jokic, Murray. And yeah, that's how you respond to what Kyrie just did on the other end. There was a little bit of that, and it did make me think, like, as much as across 82 games, it's great if the offense looks this egalitarian. We are going to end up with the same complaint as last year, though, in the playoffs. Where is the second best guy? Yeah. So seeing some of that would be welcome still, particularly if we're being greedy, if it doesn't come at the expense of the ball popping to the extent that it has.
I'm excited. These days, it sucked, man. Nuggets had all this momentum, and we had to take a break and just sit in it. I mean, at least it was a good thing to be sitting in.
Yeah,
You know, this is Afterglow.
Yeah, this is after.
Can you imagine
We're in
we
our
were
refractory
sitting in a
period.
loss, dude? We were sitting
No,
in a
dude,
loss.
we're just covered in juice.
Yeah, well, Kale, do we have some super chats that we can get out of? Reminder, tomorrow the homie Miroslav is doing the Serbian Corner edition of the DNVR Nuggets podcast. Tune in for that. All NBA with Tim Legler will be back. Me and Tim Legler will be back tomorrow as well. So check out both those shows. You won't have no shows to go to. You won't not.
You'll have shows.
No, that was
You'll
good.
have shows to
No,
go
that was
to.
a good sentence.
Yeah.
Leave it as is.
Sasha N, Zeke, Sharich, and a 2031 first for Time Lord. That's Robert Williams. Give us some cap relief with Time Lord 1 year shorter than Zeke's contract. Plus, Time Lord would be a great backup for you.
So real quick, what are they getting?
The first round pick, Zeke and Sharich.
2031st. Well,
And the Zeke redraft, buddy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Time Lord's awesome. He's also never made it through a season.
He's never made it through a season, and that is a guy that Michael Malone wouldn't play. It's just,
Well, yeah. You spend your 2031 pick just to get a guy that plays 8 minutes a game.
just to get another Thomas Bryant.
Yeah.
Wilson the Ghost.
I do. He is good, though. Time Lord's really good.
As a fellow big guy, I will not accept a third day of D-line vest slander.
Yeah, dude.
Vest for life.
Like, seriously, what's wrong with the vest? It's very Colorado. It's very comfortable. I like to wear a sweatshirt, and there's no greater compendium. There's no better buddy to a sweatshirt than a vest.
I love the vest. I just think it's hilarious.
Why do you think it's hilarious?
It's just funny, man. It's just funny.
You're wearing coral, the color coral.
I told you I went shopping at Mervin's. I got a Mervin's
You got a
shirt
Mervin's
going on.
California look going on. I won't
It's so
accept a
good.
single comment about anything.
I think everyone looks great.
I think so too.
Cedric Exquisite. Vote equals guy talking emoji.
no.
Adam and Kale equals towel boy. Eric equals Rocky. Where's Dev?
What?
I don't.
Macacrew. I know you're tired of
We're literally turning these over to the authorities. Just FYI.
Macacrew. I know you're tired of talking about trade, but what about Bobby Portis? Jokic can do this, but we all know what happens in the playoffs. He needs rest.
People don't realize that Bobby Portis right now, I think, has the single worst on-off plus-minus in the NBA.
Yeah, but imagine him playing without Jokic in Denver.
That's not true.
Come on, man. Look, yes, I'd love every theoretical upgrade. I just also
I don't know if Bobby Portis would be the upgrade, though. I
Sure.
don't know that he would be.
Maddox, I wonder, did Jokic want Russ to help be his voice?
What are we? Have you not tuned into the show? Wasn't this part of it that he's got the guy that now yells at him like Jokic whispers it and Russ yells it? I honestly think absolutely that is a huge part of this equation, and I'm telling you, I think it's going great, man. I think it's going great.
It is going great. If you want to, like, I'm the true weather vane for how the Russ experiment is going. No one wanted this to fail more than me, and it's going great. I've not said one ill word about Russell Westbrook.
What would it take for you to get a Westbrook jersey?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even own a Jokic jersey.
What about like a Westbrook shirt?
A jersey?
I'm just saying, like, what would be the thing that is like
Like,
there
to,
is
like,
the highest level of
to make me-
Westbrook appreciation?
What would make me become a Russ guy to the point where I go and I attack other people online for not being a Russ guy?
2 more months?
I don't know, man.
getting there.
Yeah.
I would love you arguing with people on Twitter about Westbrook supremacy.
Here's what you
Would be
don't get.
So awesome.
Here's what you don't get about
here's what
Russell
you don't
Westbrook.
get.
And I just start sending my old tweets, but putting them in sarcastalics. Whatever. Like, oh, Russ looks awful, but it's just really my real tweets. Russ looks awful.
I can't wait. It's actually one of my favorite storylines. D-lines to 180.
Listen, I'm a softie. You can win me over very easily, but if you cross me even one time after I've accepted you, you're dead forever.
Oh, man.
Great. Cedric Exquisite, for you, vote 2015 Warriors versus 2023 Nuggets. Who wins? Thanks for putting me in that spot. I'm going to say the Warriors, but I don't want to. You know what was funny? I feel like in some ways we've already seen that series. The questionable best player of all time without enough help against a loaded team.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Kale, great week of shows this week. Fellas?
Kale, you're doing great.
Fellas? It was almost a mini off season. We made it through with nothing but great stuff.
We're not
to talk
through
about.
it yet, man.
Well, we got a day off.
I mean, we're just folding time over. I'm not happy until I'm watching Jokic play.
Friday night at the DNVR bar, we'll do that. Satire afterwards, a little karaoke.
Yeah.
Sure. We've got also Rams and Avs watch party that night. It should be an absolute all-timer night at the bar.
Definitely going to Satire then afterwards. All right, everybody, come to the bar, hang out with us all night, drink the Joker energy drink that comes with a little shot of rock. Yeah, it's fantastic. It'll pick you right up. Hit the like button for us on the way out. We'll see you.
Great job, guys. Great.
We all silly like the mayor.